Hello everyone. Welcome you all for this episode of Startup Stories. My name is Guna. I'm a startup coach and the author of the book Startup Recipe. Today we have a very special person in this episode of Startup Stories. Let me give a short introduction about today's guest. Her name is Ruchi Mounta. She started her career with the education industry. Over 16 years, she worked with three prestigious schools in Chennai, and she started as a middle-level teacher, and then she grew up to head of administration in the industry in one of the schools. And for the last 10 years, she was doing a lot of experiential camps, almost 100 plus experiential camps under the brand Natural Diaries, and where she take children to various parts of India and also outside and few countries like Switzerland, Kenya, Sri Lanka, etc. And she do a lot of experiential camps for them. And she was also one of the first mind mapping coach who got certified in the year 2012, and the last 8 years she used this concept to help a lot of people understand how they can move to the next level. As a clarity coach, right now what she is doing is she is helping a lot of people on how they can organize themselves and move to next level in their life with 100% clarity. So that's what she is doing. So today in this episode we are going to learn a lot from her entrepreneur journey so that it can give us a lot of tips. So I hope all of you are ready. So now we'll go with the first question. Before that, let us welcome Ruchi Mohta for the show. Welcome Ruchi for this startup story series.
Thank you, Guna. My pleasure completely. And hello, everybody. I hope everyone's safe and in your homes. And I hope the next 30-35 minutes are useful for you.
Definitely it's going to be useful for them because they're going to learn from a real entrepreneur, because this is what I'm doing regularly in my series, where I bring an entrepreneur and out of their success, it is not only success what everybody should understand. They should understand the entire journey so that they can understand how they should start their career. So to start with, so you were in the education industry, and even when you're in the education industry, you were working with schools itself. You started your own entrepreneurship journey with Nature Diaries, that is an experiential camp company for children. So how you decided to become an entrepreneur? How this entrepreneur journey happened? Because that's the first question I ask all my people who come for this show, because a lot of people have this idea of starting an entrepreneurship, but they hesitate due to various reasons. So first question is how you become an entrepreneur. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Guna. So the very first thing I like to say is, I don't know whether you all believe in this or not, but somewhere Marwaris, and I'm a Marwari, and we have a very important ingredient in our blood, and that is business. Okay, so even though I was in a job all along, somewhere that element or that ingredient in my blood of being an entrepreneur was always present. So right from the time that I was in college and I was studying in Loreto College in Calcutta, I always wanted to have something going on the side. And that's when I started a very unique concept, which was renting out of ghagras. Okay, now we wear these ghagras during weddings and during all these festivals and dances and everything. And at that time, I used to also teach dancing to a lot of Marwari homes. And I realized that when they wanted to do a group dance, they did not have the similar ghagra for each of them. Okay. So that's when I went, when I was still in second year of college, and I went to Ahmedabad. I didn't know anything about a business, none of that. But I just had a gut feeling that this is a demand. And if I can fulfill a demand, I will be able to make money on it. So I think that was the first thing that I understood about myself, is I'm able to recognize opportunities. So I went to Ahmedabad, I came back. There was a lot of fight between my mother and I because she did not want to lend me 10,000 rupees. She said, you're just going to waste money. And today, in retrospect, she tells me, you at such a young age at that time, you had the guts to start. And within, I think, 3 to 4 months, I had recovered my 10,000 rupees. And people began to identify me, just not because I was teaching them dance, but also because they had rented out my ghagras.
So your entrepreneurship journey has started way back in college days itself.
Way back.
Yeah.
Yes, right when I was in college days.
Okay.
So the reason I was sharing that story was even when I was in the job, I had enough time in the evenings to think of what else can I do to grow myself.
Okay.
It always starts with wanting to do something more and that burning desire to want to do a little more. So again, Nature Diaries was something which came as a recognition of demand from my end when I was with Sishya School in Chennai, and I used to teach the middle school children. And I personally believe the kind of learning that can happen outdoors, it can never be replaced by a classroom setup. So I'm a complete outdoor person. So I wanted to take the children out of their comfort zone and into adventure camps, and there weren't anything that were good enough. So I said, okay, why don't I start one? And this is really a story I'm very proud to say, that the minute I announced my first camp, and I did it with my sisters, and I told them, okay, you know what, even if 15 kids turn up, doesn't matter, it's Mysore only, we will take them and go. But within the first 3 days, my camps, and I had 50 children who signed up, and I split them into two batches of 25 each, and that was the start of Nature Diaries. So I think for me in my entrepreneurial journey, uh, for it is important to be organized. It is important to be able to have a goal in mind. But what is extremely important is to get into action. So if I have thought of a plan today, actually I have already acted upon it yesterday. So
Super.
maybe I don't even have a blueprint in front of me, but I've already acted upon it. So sometimes, what stops us is overthinking. And
Definitely.
that is exactly what I didn't do.
Super.
I mean, you make mistakes. Sometimes it's hasty, sometimes it's correct. But for me, honestly, by God's grace, every decision of mine has worked out in some way or the other. It's either made me earn or it's made me learn.
Okay.
So you've either picked up something and you've made money out of it, or it's been a life lesson and you've learned this is not what you are meant to do again. So that has been it's been a good start. And from there, moving on, when I did my nature camps while I was still working in schools, because these camps always happened on the holidays.
Okay.
So it was never a clash with that. And later on, in fact, last year, March, I resigned from my last school, and I said, okay, now I just want to do nature camps and I don't want to do anything else. So last entire year, I have spent in doing more than 20 camps in 1 year itself.
Wow.
And I started taking school groups. So March 17th, in fact, was when I came back from my last camp. And sometimes they say, you should be careful what you wish for, because it can really come true. And I was tired of 1 year of constant traveling. And I said, oh my God, I really need a break. And I don't want to go out for some time. And that some time has really become a long time. So you should be careful about what you, ask for, because sometimes they really come true. So that's how my entrepreneurial journey started. But it is always having a side hustle and recognizing a demand,
Understood.
and how can I fit in to fulfill a requirement in the industry. And that's how it worked.
Super, super. And I know that you said last year you resigned from the last school you worked with, but you were not a middle school teacher like how you started. You were head of the administration, and it is not an easy decision to take to come out of that, because a lot of people today, they are working for some company, they are making some salary, and they're hesitating to start first something parallelly with that, and they also
Yes,
think that even in future whether I can come out of this, even if this part-time works, whether I can come out and do this full-time, etc. So there is a lot of
yes.
confusion when we choose these kind of careers, no? So what made you to take this decision of coming out of the school and giving your full time to your business?
Yeah, very good question, because people who've been in jobs, they will understand this, that the end of the month, no matter how your month has gone, there is a consistent paycheck which is coming into your bank.
Yeah.
And that can really be a reason why you stick on to your jobs. Okay, because you have that kind of financial security, no matter what you have given into the job, whether you like it, you don't like it, at least by the end of the month, you have a reassurance that come what may, my paycheck will come in. Now, moving away from that, is what is taking a very big step. So for me, it had become that either I grow myself as an experiential educator and do more and more of my camps, or I continue to be in the job and do my camps only during the holidays. It was again the same choice that comes in front of you. But having come along so many years and having certain amount of financial security, I was then willing to take a chance and say that, okay, even if a couple of months go by when I don't have a single camp to fall back on, I will still sail through. It is okay. It doesn't matter. That is perfectly fine. But that taking a chance, or that act of faith, or that leap of faith that they say, you have to take that leap of faith. It is, you have to get out of it and move on to the next level. And at one level, you have to probably burn your bridges so that you can't go back. That kind of a thing has to happen, because if I was going to continue remaining in a job, I would not be able to take up assignments which required me to travel with the children. Because one thing I was very particular about, I was still not ready to automate this process of nature camps and hand it over to somebody else. It was not something, because it's extremely dear to me, and you are taking the risk of children. So I was still not confident that I had found somebody else who could go in my place and they would be taken care of. Because at the end of the day, it's my baby and it is my product, and I was not willing to outsource it as yet. So then I had to make a choice. And I think the minute you make a choice and you have clarity, you put in all your energies over there. And honestly, between last March to this March, I ended up making at least, if not double, but definitely more than what I was making with my salary. And along with that, what was very important was I was doing something I'm really passionate about.
It is.
So just being out there with the children for 4 days, for 5 days, to see them grow, to see them transform, to see them learn outdoors was actually a dream come true. So it was completely a holiday for me for a year,
Definitely.
because I was doing what I love to do.
So you were
That is
always there in on holiday and you were enjoying yourself
and making money.
being there. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
is nice, and hope a lot of parents, or if you have children, you can definitely recommend to Nature Diaries for the wonderful camps. Mostly next few months we may not have anything, but once this thing settle down, there is going to be a lot of camps, and you all can just contact Ruchi Mohanta for that. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, every entrepreneur would have done a lot of mistakes, but for others, that is aspiring entrepreneurs, when they look at entrepreneurs, no, they only see the positive side, the limelight, and successes, etc. They don't know what actually each and every entrepreneur went through before they achieved that success. So from your journey, if you can put a few mistakes which you did in your entrepreneurship journey, it will definitely help our aspiring entrepreneurs not to commit those mistakes, so that they can grow quickly, they can cut the timeline and faster. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's very, very important, Guna, that people make mistakes and make lots of mistakes and learn from these mistakes. Because today, what is happening is we are scared to make mistakes. We are scared of failure, and which is what keeps us away from even experimenting and trying new things. But unless you're going to make that mistake, you are not going to know whether or not I can do something like this or not. So one of the big mistakes I made was I rented out a space on Taylor's Road. And this is after I had done my license program in mind mapping, and I was teaching children how to make mind maps. I was doing English vocabulary classes for them. I was doing a program called Globetrotter, where I was teaching about countries, continents, and a whole lot of information geographically for the children, because I'm primarily a social science teacher. So I always wanted to look at innovative ways and methods to make learning interesting for the children. So I set up this activity center, and I was in between jobs because I had resigned from Sishya, and I was very sure I wanted to give my time and attention to Nature Diaries, and I wanted to give it to Nutshell Kids. That is what I had called my activity center. And I think about 4 5 months went by, and I realized that this was not my vision of an activity center. I did not want my activity center to be a tuition center, because more and more parents would come and ask, oh, yeah, these classes are very good, and yeah, he can learn mind mapping, but can you do English tuitions with him? Can you teach him from whatever his school requires? Can you have somebody who can do maths tuitions for my child? So I realized that my dream of having an activity center where children learn skills outside what they are not learning in school was not it was not an idea that probably was reaching out to the audience. They were probably not understanding what I meant by an activity enhancement center or a skill enhancement center. They were still very rooted in getting their maths tuitions, science tuitions, English tuitions. And I'm one person who's completely against the idea of tuitions, because if your child is not learning it in school, then there is a problem with either the child and the teacher, or the teaching learning process, which is not working out correctly, and you must give this as a feedback. But I do understand that a lot of parents are hesitant to make this or give this feedback back to the schools and the teachers. But anyway, that's a different story altogether. Coming back to Nutshell Kids, and I think it was about 2 years that I still ran the place. I did my own thing. We brought in robotics. I still stuck to not doing tuitions.
Okay.
Then I realized that there's something going wrong. Either I'm not communicating it correctly, or the market is not ready for it. So this is not an area or a locality where people have that kind of a vision. So the numbers started staggering. It became difficult because the minute I have to start paying out of my pocket,
Yeah.
you're going wrong somewhere. Okay. And the other thing I was very particular about when I was doing Nutshell Kids is, as an entrepreneur, which I think is again very important, is to draw out your salary from it as well.
Definitely.
Especially if you have come from a job and you're used to a certain amount of pay packet. Just because you've started a business now doesn't mean you don't put aside that money as your expense. So you might take back home a little lesser than what you were taking back in the job. That's up to you. But definitely in your monthly expenditure, you must have a salary that you allot for the time you are investing in your business. So I realized that I was not being able to draw out a salary for myself. It was getting difficult for me to pay my employees and other people, in terms of rent, electricity, and added expenditure. So it was not making business sense anymore, because it is very important that early days itself, you need to assess and reassess, rather than wait for 3 years, 6 years, 8 years. You can definitely modify your model, and you can say, okay, this is what works, this is what does not work. So Nature Diaries was working very well, it was doing extremely well, but Nutshell Kids was not working, because again, like I said, I take ownership for it to some extent. Maybe I was not communicating what my vision of of Nutshell Kids was, or also the customers around were not ready for the product, whichever be the case. But the fact was, it was not working. So if I have to put it down in points, I would say three things that I learned from that particular venture was, first and foremost, you must make sure that you're drawing out a salary from whatever venture you're investing in. And the minute you stop drawing salary for yourself, that should be your first red flag, that something there is going wrong. Second is continuously reassess your books. Be in touch with your accounts, be in touch with your books. Don't invest yourself so much in marketing and constantly expanding that you are not looking at your books. It should make some sense to you financially at the end of the day. And third, know when to shut a business down. Know that this is not working. It's not the end of your life, it's not the end of your career, it's just the end of one particular proposition which didn't work out, which is perfectly fine. But at least now I know, again, I don't want to make this kind of a mistake, because it's again a lot of investment. You invest in the place, the interiors, the decor, the marketing, everything has gone in, which you cannot even you can't even get back. But having said that, It's a learning. And I
So
have learned that this is something that does not work, and I don't want to reinvest myself in something on those lines.
super.
So that was my
So
failure
one
story.
of the best examples I should say out of many interviews, because you had one successful company and one company which failed, and you compared both, and you just beautifully explained to our audience like what you should look at when the business is not doing well, and what kind of precautions you should take and start accordingly. Awesome. That will definitely add a lot of value to all those aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching this show. And when
Thank
you start as an entrepreneur, mostly things are glittering and things are shining out from outside and everything looks good. But once you get in, there are a few challenges which were not expected, and sometimes you don't know what to do at that, and slowly you start learning how to overcome these challenges. So if you can put few challenges which you had in your entrepreneurship journey and you can share about it, that will also help aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching this video. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So the challenges, and the first challenge that I'm going to talk about is when you're coming from a job market. The biggest challenge is, or the biggest temptation is to go back to your job, or to go back to a similar job, because you've tried being an entrepreneur for 3 months, 6 months. Maybe now with the lockdown, you're forced into becoming an entrepreneur because maybe you've been, the jobs are being cut off, and or you want to now experiment and try it or whatever. But the biggest challenge is to stop yourself from those temptations, and I still keep having those temptations because I keep getting offers, since I have worked in the education industry so closely, and especially in the senior management space, there's always a dearth of people. So that is the first challenge you have as an entrepreneur, to learn to say no to a job all over again. Yes, you may get in there as a consultant. You may go there and work partly for a school. In my case, it's in the case of a school, but you can work partly, but not to go back to a 9 to 5 job is the first and foremost challenge that I feel entrepreneurs may face, because you've tried this for some time. You're not really making as much money as you thought you would be making. So it's easier to then say that, okay, let me at least go back. At least there I get my salary at the end of every month. So that, I think, is the first challenge that comes along. The second challenge is that if you've been working in a job earlier, you're used to systems, processes, an office full of people, a lot of people to interact with. There are you have peons to do your short things, like get the xeroxes, or you have a coffee boy. So I'm sure when you are starting up, you're not starting up at a full-fledged scale like that. So you might be the person who's doing the printouts. You're also the person who's making yourself a cup of coffee. You're also the person who's, okay, now I'm going out, I might as well drop this, and you're doing the work of a peon or whatever. So you are putting in a lot of other roles compared to what you are used to doing, unless you're out there ready to hire instantly all these roles, which, from a business point of view, if you ask me very honestly, you're scaling up a lot of your employment cost. So you're not really saving up on cost over there. So that could be a second challenge, that you are rolled into a lot of roles, as against what you are used to. You ring a bell and you have somebody come at your door and come and take your order, and you want to give them, you can tell them, okay, this has to be sent to the courier division. And so that kind of an expanse of a corporate office, you don't have it as yet. So that could be a second challenge for you, or that could be a second thing where you feel, but I did not want to be an entrepreneur because I had to take all these xeroxes myself. You might question yourself over there, but that's all part and parcel of the journey. So you need to know your role goes beyond that of just being the CEO of your company. Sometimes you have to do more of those odd jobs as well. And the third thing I would say is to constantly be motivated, that the path you have chosen is the right one, the product that you have is required, the services that you're offering are genuine, will make a lot of sense to people. So this constant motivation, because otherwise what happens is self-doubt starts creeping in. Did I make a right choice? Again, this month I haven't done the amount of billing that I expected to do. I haven't reached out to as many people as I wanted to reach out to. So that kind of a self-doubt keeps coming in. So the third thing is then at that point to stay committed and to stay focused, as well as remain motivated. So that is, that's again another challenge. So I think the three things here are what your challenges come in. One is to keep going back, the temptation of going back to your job. The second is to know that as an entrepreneur you have a lot more roles in you than just being a CEO, at least for initially a few couple of months, couple of years, till you have established your business at a higher level. And the third thing is to constantly remain motivated and not allow self-doubt to keep coming in. These, I think, are the three challenges of startups.
Super. So that was a mini training for aspiring entrepreneurs on what they will expect after they start their entrepreneurial career. Awesome. So it has been superb for all the questions I have asked. You have added so much of value along with the answer practically, which they can easily understand, and it is simplified even for an aspiring entrepreneur who have no clue about entrepreneurship to understand. But lastly, before we close this interview, what I would like to ask you is, out of your experience, what are the few suggestions or tips you will give to any aspiring entrepreneur who wants to start a business now, or who's thinking whether to start or not, or in the 50-50, or whoever it is? All the aspiring entrepreneurs, what will be your message?
So my message to all you guys who are watching and who are startups and wanting to, or aspiring entrepreneurs, whichever way it is, let me break it down to three C's, which I think are extremely important. The first I would say is please hire a coach. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Guna. It can be any business coach, because a coach really brings about a shortcut in your thinking. The minute I wanted to get in and I wanted to become a clarity coach in the month of April, that is when I decided that, I have a degree in psychology. I have masters in psychology and counseling and therapy, and I've done a whole lot of NLP courses, emotional intelligences. So I have a skill set full of what can make me a therapist or a coach. So the first thing I did was I connected with Murli Sundaram, and he is my coach. And I said, so Murli was in fact encouraging me. He said, you can take up this course and you can learn. I said, I don't want to do any of that, Murli. I want to do one-on-one sessions with you, however expensive they are, so that I get a shortcut. I do not have the time to sit here, to go through a course, to learn on my own, then experiment. I want to cut short all of that, and I want to come to the most expensive part as one-on-one coaching, and I want to get in there straight away. So first and foremost, please hire yourself a coach, because it's very important since you're getting on an entrepreneurial journey. It's like saying that, you want to go to a gym and you have all this equipment there. You can spend hours together doing anything on your own. But the minute you have a personal fitness trainer, you know for sure how your results double. Okay, and by double I actually mean how your weight comes down to half, not double. So but what I'm trying to say over here is that a coach really knows how to get you into a process driven method, understands what are your skills, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and then helps you to channelize and work more from your strengths rather than constantly keep working on your weakness. Because that's another common mistake that people make, that they know they are not good at public speaking, but they might be very good at something else. But what are they constantly doing? They're constantly trying to become better at something that they are not good at. So why are you wasting your energy? So a coach helps you to identify very clearly what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what should you be doing, where should you be moving out of your comfort zone. Now, when I started out with Murli, he told me you have to start doing videos. I said, no, Murli, I'm not at all good at doing videos and all, and I'm not going to do it. He said, yeah, but that's exactly what I'm going to make you do, because you're not comfortable doing it. So they push you to get you out of your comfort zone. So hiring a coach is first and foremost very, very important. The second thing is to get into a habit of consistency. No matter what you're doing, your being an entrepreneur should become a habit with you, which means you are eating, drinking, thinking, sleeping only about your business. You have to become very, very passionate about this one product or this one service that you have to offer. So your commitment to that product or service has to be at 110%, which is very, very important. So your commitment to your product or to your service, and first is of course to hire a coach, second is your commitment, the third is to get in touch with like-minded people or to create a community. So to become a part of an organization where people are also entrepreneurs who can constantly motivate you. So one such organization is the BNI organization, which I feel is a learning tool, or for anybody who's a startup, who's just starting up on their entrepreneurial journey. A BNI is a live MBA that you can do. The way they have their systems, their processes, their methods of talking about your business, your 30 seconds, your 7 seconds, your everything. It's fantastic. So become a part of a community where you are with like-minded people who will help you to grow. That is very, very important, because remember, you're starting up on something, you already have self-doubt. Now if you join people where everybody is very successful, you might question yourself more. So get into a community where there are other startups as well, so you can share and learn from each other. So be in the right I know, for example, that you want to be, say, an Olympic level swimmer, but you don't start swimming and training with Olympic level people immediately. You don't do that. You start at a level you are, little better than the level you are, so that you pick up a little faster, and then you move yourself way up. So being with the right community is extremely important to be able to grow. So if I have to give you my 3 C's, I would say first, get yourself a coach. Second, your commitment to your work, to your business, to your product, to your service, to yourself has to be very, very high. And the third thing is, get yourself a community. Become a part of a community where you have like-minded people who are also growing and thriving like you, so you can be motivated and inspired by one another. So those are my 3
Super,
C's.
thank you. So we have got 3 points, but from challenges and 3 tips also. I think it's a super value which you have added in the short interview, because in such a small time, from your journey, from your experience, you have given super valuable inputs for all those aspiring entrepreneurs. I'm definitely sure that it will definitely help them in their career, and they cut off their timeline, and they quickly grow in their career by cutting off all those mistakes, cutting off all those challenges which they need to quickly overcome. So thank you very much for joining this episode of Startup Stories and sharing your entrepreneur journeys. Thank you very much, Ruchi, for joining us.
Thank you, Guna. It was my pleasure. And thank you to all those who are watching the video. I hope you picked up something somewhere. Thank you, Guna, once again. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure for all the aspiring entrepreneurs, you guys there, you would have got a lot of information from this, and you learn from it and also help others learn from this. Kindly do share this video to other aspiring entrepreneurs so that they can also learn from this interview. There is a lot to learn from other entrepreneurs, especially when they are successful. It is not only the success, there are a lot of things behind as mistakes, challenges, and what all they went through. So that is what we are doing in this series, and today we got to know a lot from Ruchi's experience. So I will see you in the next Startup Story episode with one other successful entrepreneur. So do share this video. See you in the next interview. Thank you very much. Thank you.